Electric cars were billed as the vehicle of the future, a technological revolution that would demolish our dependency on fossil fuels and usher in a new era of clean, green driving. But that electric future has suddenly sputtered, with EVs stalling on the showroom floor. But just as interest in EVs is fading, a familiar surprising contender is sparking new life: the humble hybrid. Once dismissed as an outdated transition technology, hybrids are storming back into the limelight as the automotive industry's new crush. What exactly is happening? Why are automakers pivoting away from full EVs and toward hybrid models all of a sudden? This is a burning question. Worry less. Let's dive into it. To truly appreciate the seismic shift at hand, we need to rewind the clock and revisit the origins of electric and hybrid vehicle technologies. While the concept of an electrically propelled car surfaced as far back as the 1830s, it wasn't until the late 1990s that viable hybrid and EV alternatives to traditional internal combustion engines started hitting the mass market in a big way. Leading the initial wave was the Honda Insight in 1999, which became the first hybrid passenger vehicle sold in North America. Not far behind was the iconic Toyota Prius, with its radically futuristic design and marketing blitz touting superior fuel economy and low emissions. Suddenly, drivers had affordable hybrid options, promising to slash their gasoline consumption and environmental impact. On the pure electric side, early entries like General Motors' ill-fated EV1 from the late 1990s helped pave the way. But it was Tesla who ultimately revolutionized the public's perception of EVs in the 2000s, shifting them from a niche, limited-range curiosity into a legitimately desirable, high-performance luxury vehicle. With successive models like the Roadster, Model S, and Model X, Tesla captured imaginations by packaging cutting-edge electric powertrains into sleek, powerful automotive designs boasting incredible acceleration. Suddenly, the frumpy electric car stigma was shattered. This mounting wave of hype, innovation, and early adoption kicked the electric vehicle revolution into a higher gear through the 2010s. Virtually every major automaker started mapping out their own aggressive electrification roadmaps to meet tightening emissions regulations and chase the promised land of a zero-emissions future. Automakers like GM, Ford, Volkswagen, and BMW made big publicity splashes, revamping ancient iconic models into new electric form factors, like the Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Volkswagen ID Buzz Retro Van, and BMW's funky urban E-Minis. Daring new EV startups like Rivian, Lucid, and Fisker emerged seemingly overnight, armed with billions in investment capital and big ambitions to challenge Detroit and foreign legacy brands. The hype and projections were absolutely electric. Pardon the pun. General Motors made headlines by declaring they aimed to go fully electric by 2035, eliminating tailpipe emissions from their entire light vehicle lineup in just over a decade. Not to be outdone, Ford set targets for 40% of their global lineup to be fully electric by 2030 in a bid to lead the EV charge. Across the board, bold proclamations were made to transition away from internal combustion engines towards electrified models throughout the 2020s. Massive industrial investments followed, with automakers like Volkswagen alone committing over $100 billion towards electric vehicle production and development through 2030. It really seemed like the future had been predetermined. A global industrial pivot towards pure electric vehicles was inevitable and imminent, with many industry analysts forecasting EVs capturing over 50% of total vehicle sales by 2030 as costs came down. Well, now we've arrived at 2024, and reality has delivered a sobering dose of truth. That widely predicted electric future is not unfolding according to plan whatsoever. In fact, the EV revolution has run squarely into a brick wall over the past year or so, with faltering sales, production woes, and some harsh economic realities pumping the brakes. The first major red flag was sorely disappointing sales and demand across the electric vehicle market in 2022 and 2023. Manufacturing giants who invested tens of billions into sparkling new EV production found themselves dealing with anemic buyer interest and deeply underutilized assembly capacity as they rolled out new electric models. Ford's highly touted Mustang Mach-E electric SUV sold just 39,000 units in 2022, despite lofty initial targets of over 100,000. General Motors managed to move only 23,000 examples of the Chevy Bolt, their longtime affordable EV champion that was once projected to reach over 100K in annual volume. But those disappointments were nothing compared to the abject disaster that unfolded for EV startups like Rivian. The Amazon-backed electric truck maker saw sales crater far below projections and announced over 800 layoffs in 2023 alone while halving production guidance. Of course, Tesla remained an outlier and stabilizing force for pure EVs, but even they faced demand challenges with increasing competition. The second major driving factor for this industry shift away from EVs boils down to simple economics. Battery electric vehicles remain far too expensive compared to gasoline models and hybrids for most mainstream buyers to afford. While EV costs have declined gradually, the average transaction price for a newly fully electric vehicle reached well over $65,000 in 2023, a staggering 40% premium above the overall new vehicle average price. And the main culprit is the exorbitant cost of those lithium-ion battery packs required to deliver adequate range. Battery cells remained phenomenally expensive to produce due to soaring raw material costs for elements like lithium, cobalt, and nickel. When packaged into an 80 to 100 kilowatt automotive pack, those battery systems can cost automakers over $15,000 alone before even building the rest of the vehicle. And degradation necessitates replacing those hugely expensive packs every 5 to 8 years. The third factor sending shockwaves through the EV world is increasing geopolitical tension and supply chain vulnerability when it comes to electric vehicle batteries. You see, while impressive innovation has driven down costs and improved performance, one key aspect has remained largely static: the geographic concentration of battery production amongst just a handful of countries, primarily China. Current estimates show China controlling upwards of 70 to 80% of global lithium-ion battery cell manufacturing capacity and refining for key mineral inputs like lithium and cobalt. This extreme dependency represents an existential risk for automakers and their electric ambitions. Any supply disruptions, trade conflicts, or political tensions with China could effectively grind EV production around the world to a halt overnight. Automakers would have nowhere else to turn for battery supply. This became an even bigger concern in recent years as U.S.-China relations deteriorated over issues like Taiwan and technology export controls. So with EV sales underperforming, cost remaining prohibitively high for many consumers, and an over-reliance on Chinese battery supply chains, automakers were forced with some tough decisions about throttling back their electric plans. That's where good old hybrid technology has swept back into the limelight. See, hybrids, like Toyota's iconic Prius, effectively blend the best attributes of gasoline and electric propulsion into one package. They rely on smaller, more affordable battery packs to provide electric assistance and regenerative braking to boost fuel economy. But they avoid the cost pitfalls of a full EV by retaining an internal combustion engine as the primary power source. The result is a vehicle with outstanding real-world efficiency ratings, 40 to 50% lower fuel consumption, and far lower emissions than a traditional gas burner. Yet the sticker prices remain affordable, with mainstream hybrid sedans and SUVs often costing just a few $1,000s more than their non-hybrid counterparts. Perhaps most crucially, hybrids entirely sidestep the battery supply chain vulnerability, since they require far smaller packs that can be sourced more locally. Automakers can reap the public relations benefits of selling an electrified, greener product without betting the company on EVs and their high costs. It's this near-perfect blend of benefits that has automotive giants like Toyota, Ford, and General Motors scrambling to shift more development resources back towards hybrids and away from pure electrics over the past year. We're seeing an absolute onslaught of new hybrid models, trim levels and variants being rushed out to meet resurgent customer demand. Even the most iconic of petrol-head nameplates are going hybrid. The latest Ford Mustang and Jeep Wrangler models, you guessed it, available as hybrids. It's a shocking industry reversal that few saw coming just 2 to 3 years ago. So there you have it, folks. The electric future is being unplugged, at least for the time being. A perfect storm of economic realities, affordability issues, supply chain risks, and good old pragmatism has automakers hitting the brakes on their EV ambitions. The automotive industry's new darling and top priority has become hybridization and electrified gas-electric models to satiate regulators, while delivering affordable high-mileage vehicles consumers will actually buy. Whether this hybrid craze represents a permanent detour or just a delayed route towards an inevitable EV future remains to be seen. But automakers have clearly gotten the wake-up call that consumer demand, economic realities, and supply chain vulnerabilities simply won't allow them to force an electric future until those roadblocks are addressed. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this video about the automobile industry shakeup. Subscribe for more insightful automotive content, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss my next upload. Thanks for watching. See you next time.